Hello, everyone. You are watching the Acid Primer channel. With this manicure, my client went a month with all her nails intact, but you can see that she worked a lot with her hands, because the top coat is not completely shiny. That is, there are some scuffs, scratches, and so on. I start a new manicure by removing the coating. We don't have a thick coating here, so everything comes off pretty quickly. We had a milk gel reinforcement, and since I used neon shades, you can basically leave it on because today's design will also be milk colored, so this camouflage won't bother me. Next, using an orange stick, I open the cuticle pocket, or rather, I go over it and check that there are no adhesions, as the pocket here is quite well opened on its own. Using a 23mm diameter flame cutter from KM is with red notches on the front, I start cleaning out all the left sides. I use a speed of about 25,000 revolutions per minute. I go over and clean the pterygium and also go over the regrown part of the nail plate to remove the shiny layer and ensure good adhesion. On the reverse side, I do the same thing, going under the cuticles and the sinuses, going down into the lateral sinus and cleaning the lateral ridges. I cut the cuticles with scissors. Our cuticles are slightly turned inward, that is, inside the pocket. Visually, it seems as if it is not there, but as we can see, the sausage is cut off normally. And I sand the cut, as usual, with a silicone carbide sander at low speed, moving in only one direction on the reverse. As a base coat, I use a rubber base from Mystic, which I have in large quantities. I also have a small amount of the same base coat, and I use a brush to apply the base coat. I spread the base coat over all 5 nails, and I always check to make sure that all areas of the nail are covered. Using a soft-colored cream gel, I will build up the missing side walls. Some of the side walls have curled up during wear. Also, my client filed down the length of some of her nails herself during wear, so the shape there is not very even. I can also add a little cream gel to these nails to create a beautiful, clear shape. Since this cream gel does not run, I can work on the entire hand at once, that is, I build up the desired thickness on all nails. I add the necessary side walls, maybe some length in some places, and only then do I put them under the lamp. As I said, we will have a milky shade, which I found from the premium brand. It is bottle gel in the shade Sentiment. A light milky, translucent shade, just what I need. As usual, I start strengthening the nails from the thumbs. I cover the entire nail plate with a thin layer, then I take a drop and transfer it to the cuticle area and pull it down along the central part of the nail. What I have there is showing through. A little bit of the base coat, or rather the former strengthening, but it's okay, it will all be covered up, so I'm not worried. On the other nails, I decided to show you the reinforcement on 4 nails at once. I haven't shown you this before, only on 2 nails, but here it is on my client. The natural nail plate itself allows you to reinforce even with a material that is not as thick as bottle gel, which is what I did here. First, I covered all 4 nails with a thin layer, then each nail. I transferred a drop to the cuticle area and quickly pulled it down along the central part, with more material near the cuticle and almost none near the free edge. And that's what allows me to strengthen all 4 nails. I use a thin brush to finish the side walls. If I had too much material on the free edge, i.e., most of the material, then, of course, it would all flow onto the side walls. Therefore, when working with this technique, you need to take into account the consistency of the material and the natural nail plate of the client. If the nails were too arched, it would probably be more difficult to do. This is the result of the reinforcement. As we can see, the nails are not completely curved. Naturally, a square shape requires at least a minimal amount of filing. Therefore, while I was reinforcing the nails, I saw that there were some irregularities somewhere. I didn't worry too much about it. We will not remove much length, that is, we will only slightly trim the length, since the client filed the shape herself. Therefore, now I am only performing a superficial filing, removing excess volume from the side walls and lightly going over the surface. I also remove all the bumps, dimples, and ridges that I got after strengthening. Today I will be doing rubbing and rubbing. I decided to do it directly on the milk top. With the help of the top, I will add density to our milk reinforcement, and it is also easy to do rubbing on this top. This is a top from Mystic. It's actually a very cool top coat. I use this top coat very often, especially when we cover milk shades, that is, when the client has chosen a milk shade for their nails. For example, it turned out not very dense, and this top coat can add just the right density. I think this is a perfect solution because if you additionally use some kind of camouflaging base to achieve color density, or some kind of milky gel polish, then that's just one extra step. But with the top coat, we can cover all these nuances at once. We listened to the top coat as it turned out, that is, I didn't time 10, 15, or 20 seconds. It was probably even more than 2 minutes, but now we have a life hack. I hope everyone knows that you can rub the pigment into the top coat even after 2 hours, and in general, even after a day. I think that if it is not damaged, we can just take a regular degreaser, moisten a napkin, wipe the nail, and then rub in the pigment, and as you can see, everything rubs in perfectly. If it doesn't seem quite perfect, we can remove the rubbing again with a degreaser, that is, wipe the nail and rub in the pigment again. This way, we can experiment with rubbing. For example, if a client doesn't know which one to choose, we can easily apply one, then remove it and apply another 3, and so on. Since we want a sparkling manicure today, I decided to add some reflective glitter to the cuticle area. Using a gradient brush, I apply a small amount to all 5 nails at once and then spread it out a little. And today we also decided to make these French-style sliders. I had already tried these sliders before, or rather similar sliders, but I didn't think they were very good from another brand. I did one manicure and gave up, but now I decided to try again. After all, each brand has a slightly different quality, so I decided to check how much difference there would be. I cut out all the sliders, soaked them, prepared them, and this time decided to apply them with a brush. I did it with a stamping pad, and I have to say that I really liked the quality of these sliders. Or maybe it's the technique of applying these sliders, but it's as if I touch the nail and these little antennae just fall into place on their own. That is, these sliders don't stick out, everything fits very well, and it seems to me that these whiskers are quite enough for this nail plate. On some nails, I even cut them off. It took me 2.5 minutes to glue these sliders onto one hand. This is the hand you see in the video, and the second hand went even faster, I think, than the first. I've already practiced and gotten used to working with them. You can smooth out the sliders with an orange stick or a silicone brush. All nails are covered with a top coat from the Premio brand. I like how this top coat holds the polish and also the sliders, but here I additionally went over and covered the nails with a thin layer of base coat. Since I have both sliders and rub-ons here, and to put my mind at ease, it's better to apply a thin layer of base coat to these nails. After complete polymerization, I need to remove the length and file the shape so that it is clear to start with. I take a freeze for removal and use a milling cutter to remove the length. As soon as I remove the length, I see that the square is already clearer and more beautiful than we see before filing. I also use a removal drill to remove the natural nail from the back and any excess material. And finally, the last touch. I go over it a little with a file the free edge, and also lift the lower side parallels. This is the delicate manicure I ended up with today. It shimmers unrealistically and looks very cool, but unfortunately, this polish is already 100 years old, so I can't give you a link to it. If you liked this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel.